given all of the discussion about the shutdown, the end of the government shutdown, the reasons for the shutdown, is I have, and I think some of you have probably been seeing this as well, but the beef around the shutdown between Roland Martin and Charlemagne the God has been, to me, hilarious. But they're both wrong, obviously. And the one point that I would like to make about why I think they and many others are wrong about why and where the appropriate focus and blame should be is that I, of course, think the blame, if we're picking a singular individual or a singular party, the blame for this shutdown in 2025, I think, still goes to the 2008 election of Barack Obama and the Democratic Party and their refusal to initiate and develop and impose, even as they alluded to and pretended to care about and sort of head faked as if they were going to do, which is to develop and produce universal health care. If Obama, especially during the first 2 years of his initial election, where they had Democratic Party majorities in the House and the Senate, and the whole world was on this euphoric high around his election, save for a few of us. If you push through universal health care, then all of this argument going on today around Affordable Care Act, subsidies, health insurance premiums, and so on, all of that would have been moot, despite the claims of Obama and the Democrats at the time that we can't get universal health care passed. There are conservative Democrats. There's too much Republican this. We're not ready for that. Whatever all the arguments were back in the day, part of what they also said was, let us do something that will be a stepping stone. And they tried to promote Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, which is, of course, an old Republican plan. They tried to rebrand it as something new, democratic, associated with Obama, and progressive, and a stepping stone to something better. When many of us, or not enough of us, but a handful of us at least, or those of us not allowed access to big platforms and microphones and TV sets, were saying, no, this is only going to further protect the private insurance companies and industry and make it harder for us to get to universal health care. So when I saw the current argument around between Roland Martin and Charlemagne the God, after thoroughly enjoying a good laugh, I said, no, defending the Democrats and their decision to end the shutdown, or supporting the argument that the Democrats should have resisted ending the shutdown. The real point is, as much as they would want to blame it on Trump and the Republicans, I still think the blame should be, particularly for those of us who claim to be on anywhere on the left, should be on the Democrats. Because now you want to get everybody to come back to support you when you had all the support and all the seats and the zeitgeist and the political power, you didn't do anything. And this is sort of the whole fake back and forth that we're encouraged to be stuck in. So I'm like, so anyway, but so let me just so I'm only gonna play because of course iHeartMedia, the white corporate owners of the Breakfast Club, when I did the video about Andy Young the other day, they got the whole thing in escrow and all this other kind of copyright stuff. So I don't know how much of this I'm going to get away with, but I just want to play just slightly about 2 minutes to summarize the back and forth and the beef that I've been thoroughly enjoying. And then, of course, come back to remind everybody how I told you so, because, you all know what it is. At the end of the day,
People be like, why do you go out of your way to be petty? And I'd be like, who said it was out of my way? It's directly on my route every single time. Pettyluya.
Pettyluya. It's just a couple minutes here of this intro here. And again, all the links to all the full stuff is in the show description already.
Charlemagne, who got the donkey of the day today? Well, just hilarious. Donkey of the day for Monday, November 10th goes to Roland S. Martin. Y'all know Roland Martin, left-wing political commentator, founder of the Black Star Network. He hosts his show, Roland Martin Unfiltered, on YouTube. Oh, and let's not forget, he is a Democrat dancing machine. Oh, Roland will cut a rug for the Democrats, you hear me? Okay, he loves dancing for Democrats so much that he won't even go to the right when the Tootsie Roll is playing. Okay, it's all to the left for Roland, and that's fine. Okay, respect to him.
I gotta give him credit on that one. That was funny. I thought that was funny. He won't even go to the right for the Tootsie Roll. It's always to the left. And yeah. No, and this is part of what I'm laughing at, David. Big pun. That the self-righteousness and the claims of who's where is hilarious. So yeah, he's saying he's left, but it is of course true. We've covered it here repeatedly. Roland Martin takes a lot of money happily to support the Democrats, and said he was. Remember, he said during the presidential race, I'm only here to support Kamala. That's the whole purpose of having a black owned media outlet, as he likes to remind everybody. But so yeah, but that was funny. But all right, hold on.
In his political allegiance with Democrats, so it wasn't a surprise.
Oh, and then of course we talked about how he was tied up with the whole chorus group and the operation with Brian Tyler Cohen and the funding of uh, Democratic Party influencer funding that Roland was a part of. So in that regard, Charlemagne is correct. But it's still just funny
to me that Roland had an opinion on my opinion of this current government shutdown, because I feel like Democrats, even though they put up a great fight, it was a valiant effort in regards to healthcare. It was a fight they couldn't win right now. Okay, keyword right now. So open the government back up because people are out here suffering. Roland didn't like that. Okay, he posted this video with the headline, "Beyond Idiotic, Roland tears down Charlemagne's shutdown misinformation." That's the word that got my attention, misinformation. What did I say that was misinformation? Well, let's listen to Roland Martin.
Do me a favor. Do not listen to people like Charlemagne the God, okay? So Charlemagne was talking about this government shutdown, and he made a comment as relate to what Democrats should be doing. Y'all have that?
You know what I don't understand, Mimi, and I don't know, maybe you can explain it.
I didn't even catch that. So I'm just going to stop it there. But I think this is funny that the graphic they use at is this the Essence Fest or something, New Orleans? You got Target, Coca-Cola, Disney, all sponsoring the event. Roland is wherever he was for that thing. So I just wanted to, and it was fun. I've watched a whole bunch of this stuff, and Roland likes to pull out the journalism card and say that he's a real journalist, and these people are just entertainers, and they're not doing the service to the Black community and the audience that Roland is doing by offering up this misinformation, so on and so forth. And that's why it's important, as Roland does in some of his commentary, accurately point out the distinction between Black targeted media like Breakfast Club, owned by the very white iHeartRadio, and Black owned media like Roland Martin. But Roland tries to paint the distinction that it's only Black owned media, which is Roland's claim, that can produce the accurate and honest news that Black communities need, and these entertainers doing Black targeted media are insufficiently prepared. Now, one thing, actually, in addition to what I was going to get to, that where of course they're both wrong, and ultimately both of them end up supporting the Democratic Party, and neither of them are advocating actions that are going to produce the results that both of them claim that they want, which is more health care, more resources, and better conditions for the Black community. So that part is what made it funny. But one part that that Roland, of course, leaves out in his assessment of the difference between Black owned and Black targeted media is that in the commercial media environment in which we find ourselves here in the United States, where ad revenue determines content, algorithmic success, et cetera, and so forth, it doesn't matter. if you're black owned or not. The politics are going to be limited basically in terms of black politics between the range represented there between Roland Martin and Charlemagne the God, so called. Yeah, but whatever. My whole point is I don't really. Again, I don't want to even. I'm getting caught up in in the trick I'm trying to avoid, because again, what I think is being lost here is that the Democratic Party is not the opposition it claims to be, and when it had a chance to do what it now says it's trying to do today, it didn't do it. But what I can show you is just at least enough to give you somewhat of an idea of what I'm talking about. So at around the last time I was able to access the full report, it was somewhere headed towards around $600 billion annually in in all the ad revenue being purchased. And my point in that is to say this is the ad revenue that everybody like Roland Martin and everybody in the commercial press is targeting with their content and with their promises in terms of black media of black buying power that can buy the products that are going to be advertised, and then they go on these campaigns to advertise with the black press. But in so doing, they also have to make sure that they're producing content that these advertisers are going to want to support. The 50 biggest US advertisers boosted spending on advertising and marketing services last year by 7% to 136 billion according to Ad Age Brand Report 2025. That's just the 50 biggest advertisers. There's a couple hundred that ultimately comprise the what will push that number to closer to 600 billion, but it's just 50 that are producing 130 billion in ad revenue in the last year. And when you go to these reports, it's just too much money now. The world's top 50 advertisers increased 2024 spending by 6% to 291 billion globally. That's just the top 50 globally. Amazon's worldwide spending went up to 21.4 billion, and they're the number one ad buyer. Seven number of marketers that spent more than 10 billion on worldwide advertising and promotion, with 7 in 2024. 2024 U.S. ad spending growth for the top 50 U.S. advertisers was 7%. We just covered that. 6.6% is the 2024 worldwide ad spending growth for the top 50 world's top 50 advertisers. Number of top 50 advertisers that increased US spending in 2024, 39. So it's just giving you an idea of again, all the money that is being. So what I'm trying to point to here, and here's Megan Thee Stallion doing her Amazon commercial. Amazon was one of 3 marketers, along with Procter & Gamble, an Alphabet parent of Google, to rank among both the world's top 10 advertisers and the top 10 US advertisers in 2024. So of course, Google, AdSense, YouTube. I get a little bit of coin from it, admittedly, on this channel. Roland's entire business model is dependent on it and the broader ad revenue. So he's again having to stay algorithmically friendly and politically friendly to Google and other top ad buyers. So yeah, that was basically that was essentially what I just wanted to show from that. So when Roland is going after the Breakfast Club and saying you're only black targeting and I'm black owned, it's really a difference without a distinction at the end of the day. Because if you're in commercial media and your business model is dependent on ad revenue, your politics are not going to be that much different than the range of politics is going to be wildly narrow. But again, just to recenter us back on the most important point, which is of course that I was right. I just want to play a couple of minutes from something that I did in April just to prove this point and to sort of make the point. The link to the full video, if you're interested, is already in the show description. But let's just revisit the Bed's executive leadership and listen to what, and this is exactly what I was pointing to. Listen. I mean, this is almost perfect. Listen to what he says in response to this question about, could you imagine if I had behaved the way Trump is behaving?
Imagine if I had pulled Fox News' credentials from the White House press corps. You're laughing, but no, this is what's happening. Imagine if I'd said to law firms that were representing parties that were upset with policies my administration had initiated, that You will not be allowed into government buildings. We will punish you economically for dissenting from the Affordable Care Act or the Iran deal. We will ferret out students who protest against my policies.
What is fraudulent about that is that he set up, first of all, a straw argument. Because the real question, to the point I was making with Baby Girl's doctor, is if you had acted as aggressively on behalf of the politics people thought they were voting for you for, we would not be in the position we're in now, and maybe even people like me could be tricked back into supporting a Democratic Party candidate. In other words, if you had come in and, as you promised before you got elected, went full steam ahead for the Employee Free Choice Act, which he promised in 08 he would support allowing more workers to unionize, and then never mentioned it again for 8 years. If you had gone as hard for that as Trump and Musk are going at government employees and veterans and tariffing even islands with no humans on them, if you had done that, if you had actually not drone strike killed children, if you had redistributed the military budget so that everybody had actual health care instead of doing a Republican plan that Nixon types championed years ago and then rebranded Obamacare and guarantee by mandate private insurance, if you had done universal health care and said, you know what, everybody has health care, and if you don't fully give medical attention to anybody that shows up at your place of medical care, I'm going to use the full extent of my office to crush. And then here we are a few months later, and the whole argument around healthcare premiums, the Affordable Care Act, is being used to allow for ultimately probably what I think is more likely the case, the Trump administration using this as an excuse to shut down the government and further undermine the idea of government, which is what all the Peter Thiel and all those techno-feudalist supporters of his want done. Meanwhile, their private businesses are largely or differently affected. But as others have pointed out, all of the crisis that is happening to working people and poor people is creating more money and stock value for the rich. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.